Welcome to English Reading for Learning. Welcome to Learning English through Reading Channel. I am GK. Now I am about to read you a short story of Mother Teresa, who was a Roman Catholic nun, devoted her life to serving the poor and destitute around the world. In all aspects of her life, was a generous dispenser of divine mercy, making herself available for everyone through her welcome and defense of human life, those unborn and those abandoned and discarded. She bowed down before those who were spent, left to die on the side of the road, seeing in them their God-given dignity. She made her voice heard before the powers of this world, so that they might recognize their guilt for the crime of poverty they created. Just before moving to the story, please help to click like and subscribe my channel. Wonderful! Here is the story. The Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa was born in 1910 in Skopje, the capital of the Republic of Macedonia. Little is known about her early life, but at a young age, she felt a calling to be a nun and serve through helping the poor. At the age of 18, she was given permission to join a group of nuns in Ireland. After a few months of training with the Sisters of Loreto, she was then given permission to travel to India. She took her formal religious vows in 1931 and chose to be named after Saint Teresa of Lisieux, the patron saint of missionaries. On her arrival in India, she began by working as a teacher. However, the widespread poverty of Calcutta made a deep impression on her, and this led to her starting a new order called the Missionaries of Charity. The primary objective of this mission was to look after people who nobody else was prepared to look after. Mother Teresa felt that serving others was a fundamental principle of the teachings of Jesus Christ. She often mentioned the saying of Jesus, "Whatever you do to the least of my brethren, you do it to me." As Mother Teresa said herself, love cannot remain by itself. It has no meaning. Love has to be put into action, and that action is service. She experienced two particularly traumatic periods in Calcutta. The first was the Bengal famine of 1943 and the second was the Hindu-Muslim violence in 1946, before the partition of India. In 1948, she left the convent to live full-time among the poorest of Calcutta. She chose to wear a white Indian sari, with a blue border, out of respect for the traditional Indian dress. For many years, Mother Teresa and a small band of fellow nuns survived on minimal income and food, often having to beg for funds. But slowly her efforts with the poorest were noted and appreciated by the local community and Indian politicians. In 1952, she opened her first home for the dying, which allowed people to die with dignity. Mother Teresa often spent time with those who were dying. Some have criticized the lack of proper medical attention, and their refusal to give painkillers. Others say that it afforded many neglected people the opportunity to die knowing that someone cared. Her work spread around the world. By 2013, there were 700 missions operating in over 130 countries. The scope of their work also expanded to include orphanages and hospices for those with terminal illnesses. Not all of us can do great things, but we can do small things with great love, Mother Teresa said. Mother Teresa never sought to convert those of another faith. Those in her hospices were given the religious rites appropriate to their faith. However, she had a very firm Catholic faith and took a strict line on abortion, the death penalty and divorce, even if her position was unpopular. Her whole life was influenced by her faith and religion, even though at times she confessed she didn't feel the presence of God. The Missionaries of Charity now has branches throughout the world, including branches in the developed world where they work with the homeless and people affected by AIDS. In the 1960s, the life of Mother Teresa was brought to a wider public attention by Malcolm Muggeridge, who wrote a book and produced a documentary called Something Beautiful for God. In 1979, she was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for work undertaken in the struggle to overcome poverty and distress, which also constitutes a threat to peace. She didn't attend the ceremonial banquet but asked that the $192,000 fund be given to the poor. In later years, she was more active in Western developed countries. She commented that though the West was materially prosperous, there was often a spiritual poverty. The hunger for love is much more difficult to remove than the hunger for bread. Mother Teresa said, when she was asked how to promote world peace, she replied, "Go home and love your family." Over the last 2 decades of her life, Mother Teresa suffered various health problems, but nothing could dissuade her from fulfilling her mission of serving the poor and needy. Until her very last illness, she was active in traveling around the world to the different branches of the missionaries of charity. During her last few years, she met Princess Diana in the Bronx, New York. The two died within a week of each other. Following Mother Teresa's death, the Vatican began the process of beatification, which is the second step on the way to canonization and sainthood. Mother Teresa was formally beatified in October 2003 by Pope John Paul II. In September 2015, Pope Francis declared, "Mother Teresa, in all aspects of her life, was a generous dispenser of divine mercy, making herself available for everyone through her welcome and defense of human life, those unborn and those abandoned and discarded. She bowed down before those who were spent, left to die on the side of the road, seeing in them their God-given dignity. She made her voice heard before the powers of this world, so that they might recognize their guilt for the crime of poverty they created." Thanks for watching and listening. Please click like and subscribe for new and latest uploads.